welcome back to Cuckoo for Books. My name is Salva and today I will be doing a book review on Jennifer Niven's All the Bright Places. For those who don't know, I was able to meet her last week at National Bookstore's author signing event, and you can watch my vlog of the whole entire day over here. After going to her signing, I realized that even though I had read the book, I have yet to post a review. So that's what I'm doing today, to share my feels, because we know that this book has a lot of them. So let's get started. So from the first page, I just want to start off by saying that I fell in love with Violet. I could totally relate to her. Without getting too into it, I too experienced something of a decline from my junior year self to my senior year self in high school. Nothing as grave as a death in the family, but more of the anxiety disorder type. I could totally get what she was talking about, how for a time I couldn't go back to writing, even though it was one of the things that I loved doing most of all in the entire world, and right now I'm still having a bit of difficulty going back to it because of OCD, but we'll save that for another conversation. Long story short, I was able to relate to her so much, especially when she was having the conversation in the counselor's office about, well, you quit student council, you quit cheerleading just because she couldn't. Not because she didn't want to anymore, but because she physically and mentally didn't have the drive to do it anymore. I could super relate to that. So from the first chapter of Violet, I fell in love with her right away, and she quickly became my favorite character. I took notes while reading it, and on my notepad it says, Theodore is an ass, but he might just be my ass. I think he suffers from one of those things that sometimes happens with multiple point of views. From his point of view, you love him so much. The outward appearance he gives to everyone else, if it's not his point of view, just makes him so annoying. Obviously, you find out later on that there's a reason for everything. I ended up loving him and caring about him just as much as Violet. All in all, I think one of this book's strengths was to create two very lovable yet very troubled characters. Speaking about the way the author writes it, I really love the way she puts into words how the brain works, especially how a teenage brain works. There are certain passages in the book where I feel like that's how I feel, and she just puts it right into words. She has, I think, a talent for that. I especially marked page 128, Finch talking about how his brain works and how it's going so fast that he can't catch up with it, and sometimes I guess that's how people with OCD works. Also, another thing I realized while reading this book is that it's not only a book for teenagers or young adults to read. This is a very important book to read if you are a parent of a young adult or a teen. A huge part of the plot is that Finch's parents can't really get to him, or they're so distant. I think it's just very eye-opening in terms of teens do think a certain way and they feel a certain way, and sometimes as adults you can just brush that off going through puberty when in fact it's something bigger. Because I cannot get through this review without mentioning a lot of spoilers, your spoiler alert is right now, right here, right now. All aboard the spoiler train. Choo choo! One of my favorite scenes in the entire book was the suicide group meeting. Again, the author just used her talent to bring all these things that you can't put into words. I really liked what she said about you not being your mental disorder or mental illness or anxiety disorder. You are not OCD, you are not bipolar. You have those things, you are not those things. These people need as much help as those suffering from a disorder of the lungs. People suffering with mental illness, they both need the same amount of attention, the same amount of treatment, and one should not be dismissed in favor of the other. I think that was my favorite scene in the whole book. It wasn't really an eye-opening scene for me. I knew what she was saying and I knew all about that, but the fact, again, that it was put into words, the fact that you could imagine, like, maybe some person who doesn't realize this will read this book and then suddenly have an epiphany. Just that thought gave me a sense of comfort. Talking about the big suicide. We're not going to talk about the feels because I could just end up a sobbing mess. I really liked how the author did not make Violet wallow in her grief. That was her with Eleanor. I liked how the author made sure that even Finch died, her one true love, she chose to keep on living, and I mean that's essentially the entire message of the book. And I loved the sort of scavenger hunt that happened at the end of the book where she finds all the messages he left for her, and I just thought that was a very good ending. And that about does it for my review on All the Bright Places. You can follow me on my other bookish adventures on Twitter and Instagram, both at Cuckoo for Books. Please subscribe. I will see you guys next Sunday or sooner for the next video. Bye guys!